You didn't hear it from me, but after 2025 comes 2026.
Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, and that you are having a great day. And in today's video, I'd like to sit back in my very squeaky chair, relax, and have a little conversation with all of you guys about flesh and blood. That is right. Today we are returning to my favorite currently active TCG. What a TCG it is. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Mechanologist today, my favorite class in the entire game, really. It is so interesting to me that there is a steampunk high-tech group of heroes running around in a world of high fantasy. I like that a lot, if I'm being honest. But more specifically, this is a top 10 video as I go over my top 10 favorite Mechanologist cards. And just as a stipulation, a few things to state before we begin. One, this video, is entirely my opinion. And I just really need to stress that because far too many people will get really, really worked up about top 10 lists. I understand, but still. Two, this is not a top 10 best Mechanologist card list. Why is that? It's simple, actually. I'm not that good at Flesh and Blood. I'm actually really bad at the game. Just ask anyone who plays with me. But I do still like the game a lot. So instead of a top 10 best cards list, this is just a top 10 my favorites cards list. Cards I like to play or wish I could play more. And stipulation the third, I'm not going to be including any hero cards. Wow, card. No hero cards are going to be on this list. Yes, the Mechanologist heroes are half the fun. They all have wacky and zany abilities that push the class in different directions, and I do like pretty much all of them. But if I included heroes, it would just be dated all 10 times, probably. With all that said, let's begin with card numero 10 on the list, Teklo Foundry Heart. And that's right, the premier chess piece of the entire class. Teklo Foundry Heart really is a piece of equipment that was beautifully designed for the class in mind. And in my opinion, there's basically no reason to play most other chess pieces for Mechanologist if you have access to the heart. It's just that good. Why is that? Well, it is a every turn source of resources by doing that thing Mechanologists love to do, thinning the deck, in order to give them access to resources. Sure, it has a stipulation where you have to boost before you can turn one resource into two through the power of lobotomy, but you're boosting every turn anyway because you are a Mechanologist. You want to do that. And yeah, just the utility of an extra resource every turn is just so solid that it really does feel like such a good card. And guess what? That's not all, because the heart blocks for 3 total over 2 turns. 2 on the first turn and 1 on the second. That's so good. In my opinion, a card that blocks for 2, period, a piece of equipment that blocks for 2 is a good piece of equipment. A piece of equipment that blocks for 3 and continues to provide resources after that blocking is done is just so solid. And it really does feel like the heart really never... I find it hard to believe that they're going to print a better chess piece for Mechanologist than the Teklo Foundry Heart just because of how good it is. I look forward to being proven wrong, but I just find it doubtful. In most circumstances, you'll want the heart, I think. But enough of that, about that. Something I may have forgotten to mention at the start of this video is that I am extremely biased towards Datadol, my favorite Mechanologist hero. So don't be surprised if far too many cards on this list are really just cards that I like to play with Datadol. With that said, Mechanologist card number 9 is Microprocessor, the Datadol Specialization. It's an item, blue, costs 2 to play, but ideally you're just going to get it for free with Datadol's ability. And it has 3 different abilities on the card, which is already really solid. The first one just lets you opt 1. The second, as a once per turn action, you can draw a card and then put a card from your hand on top of the deck. And then the third and final ability is that you can banish the top card of your deck. Really solid stuff, all things considered. Oh, and it has a 4th static ability where the first time you activate it per turn, you get an action point. So you get your first opt or draw put back on top or boost for free. Now, why is this card so cool? Why do I like it so much? Basically, Data Doll needs it. This is the card that I feel is 1,000,000,000% required for Data Doll to be playable in Blitz. If this card did not exist, it would be much harder to make Data Doll at all consistent. Data Doll being a hero with only 3 intellect really does hurt her in pretty much every matchup. It leaves her at a huge disadvantage. So giving her a card that can play around with the top of the deck and kind of toy with the cards in your hand and the top of the deck gives her access to utility and consistency that is hard to find elsewhere. There are a few other cards that will be on this list that I will be mentioning that make her just a bit more consistent than Microprocessor on its own, but I feel like Microprocessor was needed for Data Doll, and so it gets added to the list, and I do like it quite a lot. In the number 8 slot is a card that I really want to play, but I can never really find justification to play. It is Fuel Injector from Bright Lights, which is a adorable little item, which has a very simple ability of you can, as an instant speed, put it on the bottom of your deck to gain a resource. And that is so fun. And I have tried several times to make it work in a few different decks, especially Data Doll, because again, free item, and then free resource off that item. And it goes back in the deck. It refills the deck. That's so good, right? I've tried a few different times to make it good, and I'm sure that there are ways to make it really solid, really powerful. I've just not found it yet, but this is a card that I like, and I hope that one day I do find a way to include it in a deck without, at some point, just being forced to remove it. Because, again, I've tried playing it a few different times, and I always just end up removing it for like another zipper hit or something. Next up, in number 7, we have the Cerebellum Processor. That is right, 3 items in a row, and this is another one that I primarily like because of Data Doll, but it's also really strong in Dash IO. It came out of her deck, I believe. It's a really solid card all around, and obviously Dash gets the better value out of it, in my opinion, because of the instant play off top, as opposed to having to kind of look around for it, but it's a really solid card. It's got Crank, comes in with 2 steam counters, and once per turn, just draw a card. That's great. That's amazing. And it's one of the best resource cards for the class, in my opinion. Just that extra once per turn free draw, is so good, and I'm sure that the skill play required to make this card good is only slightly higher than my current skill level, but it does just scream so solid. Obviously, in Data Doll, the ability to get this out for free gives her access to potentially a free increase to her hand size for the turn, effectively. And obviously, in Dio, the deck it was designed for, it gives you access to potentially 5th card in your hand, which is solid for the turn. It's an overall really dope card, and I feel, personally, like it's an excellent addition to the class. Shame it and Microprocessor are they're majestic, so you can't play them in Silver Age, which does hurt Data Doll in the long run, but I suppose I won't linger on that too long. Next up, we have Boom Grenade, and yeah, this is such a delightfully devious little toy. It's an excellent combat trick in Dio. It is a nice bonus in Data Doll, and pretty much every other Mechanologist wants to use it because it's just so good. Mechanologist as a class doesn't really have access to good attack reactions, but what it does have access to is some really threatening utility cards, and Boom Grenade, I feel, kind of exemplifies and personifies the Mechanologist access to just a few extra ways to screw you over if you are on the receiving end of one of their attacks. Boom Grenade represents a threat on hit for extra damage. Of course, I'm just talking about the red version, but don't get me wrong, that yellow version is playable too. Dio can turn it into a surprise. Data Doll can turn it into a free card. And Max just likes to crank, so he's going to play it too. And I'm going to be honest. If you play this card, your opponent is going to be blocking out your attacks just so that they don't get that extra. 4 extra damage, again, is nothing to sneeze at. So most players are going to want to do their best to make sure that it does not go off. And God forbid you manage to get 2 of them out. Then they're really panicking because that is busted. In slot number 5, we have Optical Monocle, a card I included specifically for Data Doll. And do not worry, this is the last card on the list for Data Doll, but it's the last piece for a reason. This is the best source of consistency for Data Doll specifically. And yes, it can be used for other Mechanologist heroes, but she gets the most out of it because being able to opt several times in one turn to fish for an item off the top of your deck is just so necessary for her. I shouldn't say necessary, so helpful for her. So very helpful that whenever you see an Optical Monocle hit the board for you as Data Doll, you're in heaven. You're just over the world in terms of your euphoria, because you know that the very next boost you play is going to guarantee you an item. It's just so solid. Really hyper aggressive card, in my opinion, because it lets you just cycle out the top card of your deck until you hit that item. Really good stuff. Next up, we have in spot number 4, Hyperdriver, particularly because it lets me play one of my favorite turns in the game. Hyperdriver, for those of you who don't know, is basically a extra resource for the next few turns after you play one, because it gives you a resource the first time you boost each turn while it's out, as long as it still has a Steam counter on it, of course. Max really likes this card quite a lot, and it's not hard to see why. Getting an extra resource for your attacks lets you be a bit more aggressive, and Max is a very aggressive hero. His entire game plan basically revolves around them. One of my favorite turns that I get to see all the time in Max is play a red Hyperdriver from the hand, crank it, because Max lets it crank, swing with a 0 to 60 or T-Bone or any other 0 cost attack. Boosting it gives you a resource from the Hyperdriver. You close the combat chain, turn that resource into 2 with the Tekla Foundry Heart. Use those 2 resources to play the token Hyperdriver off of Max's ability. And boy howdy, does that just make the next turn feel even better. It's just so good having access to just a nice discount on some cards later on, especially if you might unfortunately have a turn where you draw cards that are good, you just might be missing a resource or 2 to play them all. Hyperdriver makes that just a bit more possible. But do you know what else Hyperdriver makes possible? Giant robots. That's right. Number 3 on our list is the Construct Nitro Mechanoid, the only super fighting robot currently available in Flesh and Blood. There's only 2 Construct cards so far, and I hope that changes because I really like the gameplay style of Nitro Mechanoid. Maybe in the future we can get like a Nitro tank or something. I don't know. Nitro Mechanoid is... it is this full mechanized battlesuit that takes 3 Hyperdrivers, your weapon, and all of your equipment slots and turns them into one big, absolutely brutal attack option that used to be extremely overpowered with the High Octane. Playing High Octane while you had Mechanoid out basically could guarantee you the game on the spot, because that's swinging for so much damage in one turn, potentially. Boost, 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 then swing with Nitro Mechanoid. Yeah, that's just... it's so awesome. I understand why they got rid of High Octane, because Nitro Mechanoid, with that... they weren't abusing it with Nitro Mechanoid, just so we're clear. They banned it for other reasons. But with High Octane, Nitro Mechanoid was really good. I feel like that's unfair. High Octane made a lot of things good. But I digress. Really cool robot. Love to assemble it. Even without High Octane, it's still a really solid card, and it makes me feel like I'm assembling Exodia in Yu-Gi-Oh! Whenever I manage to pull it off. And finally, we have the number 2 and number 1 slots for this list. And you might be saying, whoa, they're both being revealed at once? Yes, because for the most part, these 2 cards are interchangeable. And how much I like them basically depends kind of on the mood I'm in that day, with 0 to 60 and T-Bone taking up these slots. And like I said, which one is in number 2 and which one is in number 1 is basically up to the day. I love them both quite a lot, with T-Bone being a disgusting utility in certain decks, forcing them to block out with their full equipment suite, especially if I'm lucky enough to get 4 of them on turn 1. Oh, that'd be great. I love when that happens. And 0 to 60 just being really, really good. Like in terms of like value for what it is. On curve, 0 to 60 is just one of the best aggressive cards in the game, and it's really solid for Mechanologist, so I like it a lot. 0 for 4 is just so good. And 0 for 3 with T-Bone, forcing your opponent to block without equipment, is also really good. So I like both of these cards a lot. And again, which one is better or more fun, in my opinion, will vary from day to day. I do like to say T-Bone, T-Bone, T-Bone. But, I don't know, threatening 12 with 0 to 60 right out the gate is also pretty solid, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, nothing super crazy there. No in-depth game plan analysis or anything. I just really like these cards a lot. And I actually like all these cards a lot. And more, honestly. Mechanologist as a class is full to the brim with all kinds of cool cards. This could have been an items list. This could have been an Evo list. But I decided just top 10 Mechanologist cards in general that I just really like to see play. So, let me know what you guys think of this list in the comment section below. Do you agree with some of my positionings? Do you think I'm silly for liking Mechanologist? Let me know. Let me know in the comment section below. Please like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Check out the Discord. Check out the Patreon. Check out Flesh and Blood. It is a very fun game, I promise. It is really enjoyable. And with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.